data is an extremely polarizing subject in fighting games. It's not necessary to know it to play the games at all, but taking the time to understand it, even at a base level, can really help players game out and solve issues with their gameplay at a fundamental level. But Jules, you say, I didn't pay my hard-earned money to sit and do math problems while I'm trying to play Street Fighter. That's way too sweaty for me. Doesn't sound fun at all. And look, I'll level with you. Frame data at its core is definitely based on basic math, which I'll break down in a bit. But I think the biggest hang-up that most people have, thinking that they have to worry about it while playing, is actually a big misnomer because you're not really concerned with the numbers mid-match. You're not making complex calculations during split-second decisions. What frame data is actually for is coming up with mathematically sound solutions to problems you face in game. What I mean by this is 2 + 2 = 4, nothing more, nothing less. That is a fact that does not change. So if frame data is based on the same mathematical rules as, well, math, then all of those same rules apply to the in-game moves based on that math. First things first, a frame is 1/60th of a second. This is pretty bog standard gaming stuff, and it's just the science that most fighting games are built around. So to help put things into context, you need baselines just like any other good science. In this case, a great place to start is what's the fastest thing I can do in the game? The answer to this is, with a few very specific caveats, 4 frames fast. All characters have at least one normal attack that starts up in 4 frames. These moves require no resources or special inputs, just a singular button press. Well, why is that important? It's important because it gives context to the rest of the numbers soup that I'm about to throw at you. But before we get to that, there are a couple of terms we need to define. These terms are as follows: plus on block, or just plus, minus on block, or just minus, and neutral, or 0 on block. These essentially just refer to the state a character can be in after a move that has made contact with them. In simple terms, being plus basically means that you are able to react X amount of frames before the other person, X being the number of frames. Minus means the literal opposite, in that the other person can react X amount of frames before you. And neutral means that both characters return to neutral at the same exact time, and there is no numerical advantage one way or the other. This is by far the most important thing to understand when dealing with frame data. When you hear players talk about the concept of turns, this is what they're referring to. When you're plus, it's your turn because you have the numerical advantage over your opponent, and vice versa. When you're minus, your opponent is plus, so it's their turn. Learning when, and just as importantly, when not to take your turn is a key part of sound defense because, simply put, pressing attacks out of turn makes them slower, and thus more risky than they naturally are. To break this down a little further, we need to dive into some numbers. So let's start with Ryu's crouching medium punch. This attack starts up in 6 frames, is active for 3 frames after startup, and has 13 frames of recovery. Simply put, this means that when you press that button, it takes 6 frames for Ryu to swing his arm and make contact. There is then a 3-frame window where this move can potentially strike an opponent, after which it takes 13 frames for Ryu to bring that arm back fully and be able to do something else. Now, this is only described what happens to Ryu when he's throwing the move. If you're the opponent, however, this move can affect you in a couple different ways. You can be hit by it, you can block it, or you can avoid it altogether. For this move in particular, if it hits clean, Ryu is plus 5 frames. If it's blocked, then Ryu is 0 or neutral and has no advantage. And of course, if it doesn't make contact, then the opponent is not affected and Ryu is just locked into the animation of the punch until it naturally recovers. Now, here's how you can apply this to gameplay strategy. If crouching medium punch hits and Ryu is plus 5, then that means that Ryu can timely press and link another button into an uninterruptible combo as long as the button starts up in 5 frames or fewer. In this case, all 4 of Ryu's light attacks fit the bill and will work as long as they're timed correctly and will reach. This is fact, 2 + 2 = 4 type stuff. Understanding this, and not accounting for counter hits and chaining light attacks, which we'll save for another video, we now know that if we want to link Ryu's crouch medium punch into another normal attack, the only buttons that will even work are light attacks because nothing else in his toolkit is fast enough. So rather than having to manually go and waste time trying every single button he has, we just whittled 12 plus possible options down to exactly 4. with one simple math problem. Special and super cancels aside, you can use this process with any move in the game to figure out if it can naturally link into another attack. Assuming, of course, it reaches far enough to connect. This process can also be used defensively and to set up really nasty frame trap situations. This time, let's use Ryu's forward heavy punch, Solar Plexus Strike. This move at 20 frames startup is much slower than Crouch Medium Punch, but moves Ryu forward while attacking. It's also +6 on hit and +3 on block. This means that if the move hits clean, it can be linked into a 6-frame Crouch Medium Punch, for instance. But even more importantly, Ryu is +3 on block, meaning that even if your opponent guards this move, Ryu is still able to act 3 frames before they will. It's still his turn. This has 2 implications. The first is that, just like the 0 on block Crouching Medium Punch, you can safely defend yourself if you don't press another button afterward. But where this gets good is that if you did want to press your attack, it is your turn after all. You can use the 3+ frames of on-block advantage you have to frame trap your opponent using that exact same trusty Crouch Medium Punch. This works because having frame advantage effectively means that you take however many frames you're plus off of the very next thing you do. So, since you're +3 and Crouching Medium Punch starts up in 6 frames, you're turning that 6-frame normal move into a 3-frame normal move. Well, Jules, you ask, I thought you said the fastest a thing could be in the game, asterisk, was 4 frames. That's absolutely correct. That's why a frame trap is called a trap. If your opponent gets jumpy and pushes anything, even their fastest 4-frame button, your move, properly timed, will beat whatever they press, unless they did an OD invincible reversal attack. Period. This concept is one of the biggest things that understanding frame data unlocks for you. And the beautiful part is that once you know the answer, the numbers after the fact are irrelevant. You just practice the sequence and employ it, knowing that it will just work as long as you don't mistime it. No further math involved. So, long story short, a little napkin math homework up front on which moves leave you plus, minus, or neutral on hit and block, and how fast they are, can not only save you a lot of heartache and lost rounds in the long term, but also level up your offense in a very deadly and effective and insidious way as you get better and better at developing and employing frame traps. Now, this rabbit hole goes a lot deeper with things like safe jumps and meaty setups, but starting here will give you the foundational understanding to grasp those situations very quickly. And once you do, I feel very sorry for your next opponents. Godspeed and good luck out there.